guys, and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, what's up? I'm Jen. Good to meet you. And if you're a returning viewer, what's up? How you been? What's good? Anyway, before we get started on this video, I will say that this is my personal experience with a Ouija board. So I figured I'd save it up for Halloween weekend. Everything is very true, whether you want to believe me or not. But yeah, everything happened, and I figured, what better time than Halloween? So before we continue into this video, I also want to say, if you are not already subscribed, please feel free to do so. There will be a subscribe button on the screen. So anytime you get the urge, click away. And if you like this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up so that I know, and I kind of gives me some feedback so I know what you guys are liking and not liking so much. So also, don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you get told when I am posting. I do post on Monday, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. And that's about it. So without any further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so I'm going to try and keep this kind of short, but this is a story time. So, make yourself comfortable. Grab a snack, whatever you need, and get comfy. Okay, so this all happened it was a very short time in my life, thank goodness. A little backstory. When I was about, I want to say 10, 11, my grandmother died. And she was like my best friend. My grandmother always had she always prayed to Saint Therese, who was the little flower, known as the little flower, and her calling card was roses. So my grandmother was, both my grandparents actually were very devout Catholics. Went to church regularly. I went with my grandmother all the time. I was, she was my best friend when I was a kid. So anyway, so my grandmother always, would pray to Saint Therese, and, random things would happen, and my grandmother would every now and again get something like a little rose card or something, and my grandmother would be like, oh, there's Saint Therese leaving me a present or whatever. So, and my grandfather always kept this little altar in their apartment that he had. It was a statue of the Virgin Mary, Jesus, and some candles. So we always lit these candles every night, those tall religious candles. So we always lit that every night. So, they were very big into, they were Catholic, very devout Catholics. Anyway, so when my grandmother passed away, we were all very upset, and we stopped by my grandfather's apartment, to take him home after the funeral, and everybody was, upset and whatever. And I was a kid, so we left, we said goodbye, and I remember in their apartment, there was when you came in the building, there was a landing, and then there were stairs that went up and stairs that went down. My grandfather was on the first floor with the stairs that went up. So when you got to the top of these, I want to say 8-10 steps, there were 4 apartments, 2 on each side, and my grandfather's was the last one in the back over here. So we were leaving the apartment, walking this way towards the stairs to go down to the little, the door that went out. And as we were leaving, of course, I being a kid, went running ahead. And I got about 2/3 of the way down the steps, and I stopped dead. And I was like, I just got hit with this overwhelming smell of roses. And, it just was very, very strong. And I was like, whoa. And my mom's like, what? And I'm like, do you smell that? And she's like, no, what are you talking about? And I said, the roses. I smell roses. And at about that time, the smell had passed me, and I'm like, oh, maybe it was just my imagination because I don't smell them anymore. And at that point, my mom smelled them. And she's like, no, I smell them. And they seem to be traveling up the steps. So we followed them, and they went, like, you could smell them. It was the smell traveled down the hallway, and we followed it back, and it went to my grandfather's apartment. So when we got home, my mom called my grandfather and was like, did anything happen after we left, you know? And the first thing he said was, yeah, your mother visited. So my mom was like, excuse me? What do you mean? He goes, I smelled the roses. So that was like our, you know, I mean, obviously, you know, what are you going to say? We were both like, wow, you know, okay, we weren't just imagining it. So that was my first experience with something like that. I mean, it just happened that once. It was like her way of saying goodbye, you know, never happened again. But I just thought it was really, you know, freaky. So then fast forward, my grandfather passed away the following year. He kind of gave up. Anyway, at that point, we were living in Cleveland, Ohio, and I was then 12. We moved to where I live now, New Jersey. So fast forward to, it was around my Sweet 16, because my mom had rented a video camera from Rent-A-Center to record my Sweet 16 and whatever. So my mom worked long hours. She worked in a hospital as a nurse's aide, basically. She had started out as a home health aide, but then got some work at the hospital in the brain trauma department and ended up getting hired in. So she worked from, what was it? She worked from 3 to 11, yeah. So she was usually gone because it took her about a half hour to get to work, half hour, 40 minutes to get to work, depending on traffic. So she was usually gone by the time I got home from school, and she didn't get home until close to midnight. So, you know, I used to have my friends over every day hanging out and whatever. And we lived not far from a shopping center. So one day we were just hanging out, and I remember that it was around my Sweet 16 because the video camera will come into play. So, anyway, so my friend and I were watching something, and I don't know what possessed us, but we decided to go and buy a Ouija board from Kmart. So we walked up and we bought one, and we're like, it's made by, I think it was Parker Brothers or something, and we're like, how real can this be, and whatever, you know. So we decided to play it, and it became like a every night thing, pretty much. I don't know, I don't remember every exact detail, but I just know that we talked every night to Aaron. That was who we were supposedly talking to every time we did it. My friend, we'll call her Crystal. My friend Crystal and I were inseparable. We were together every day after school. So when we get home, she would be over my house and we would play with, you know, the Ouija board. And, you know, we had a lot of fun with it. And then after a while, you know, I started playing it by myself. Another thing you're not supposed to do, I know. But then I started having weird things happen. And at first, you know, we thought it was just our imagination. But, yeah, like one time we were sitting, I'll never forget, we were sitting on my bed. This was right after my Sweet 16, because I had two bottles. I had a highboy dresser, and I had 2 glass bottles on top of it, and they were about, you know, this far apart from each other. Maybe about that far, you know, an inch maybe up away. Anyway, so we're sitting there playing cards, and I had a daybed. So, like, the window was over here, and then my room was off to this side, and the highboy was over here. So we're sitting there playing cards, and all of a sudden we hear clinking. We're looking around, and it was the sound of those bottles clinking together. And we're like, no. So I get up and I investigated it. You know, sometimes they would clink on the wood from time to time when somebody walked, but there was nobody there but she and I. So, and she and I were sitting there playing cards, so obviously we didn't walk through the room and disturb them. And, you know, when I got up to disturb them, I thought maybe, you know, something went, who knows, you know, something went by, shook the building, I don't know, but they were still an inch apart. So that kind of freaked us out and kind of brushed it off. Then we were having other small disturbances. I remember sleeping one night, and I was always afraid of the dark, always terrified of the dark. And I remember I was sleeping facing the window on my side, and I had my feet like crossed, you know how you lay when you're on your side. And I had my little lamp on at the foot of my bed. I had a TV and a lamp on top of it. It was like a little corner bookshelf. So I always slept with that nightlight on, basically, so I could see the whole room if I needed to. And I remember out of nowhere, I got woken up because it felt like somebody took my feet and threw them up in the air. Now, being that I was laying on my side, there was no way, you know, sometimes you jerk in your sleep and you wake yourself up. Well, I thought maybe that's what I had done, but it felt like somebody had taken their hands and picked my feet up and threw them up in the air. So I, of course, turned around and looked, and there was nobody in the room. Nobody there. I thought, you know, maybe my friend was, you know, waking me up, that I had overslept for school or something, or my mom had gotten home and she needed something. And there was no way I could have possibly jerked in that position, because it would have been like doing a jackknife jump. Like, there was no way in that position. Because my feet literally went about 2 feet up in the air off the bed. I mean, they flew up. The only way it would have been possible is if somebody had physically thrown them up. So that really freaked me out. I had a hard time going back to sleep that night, I will say. So then we decided we were going to videotape ourselves playing the Ouija board. Well, we had the camera set up, and I will never forget. I had hardwood floors, and the way we had it set up, my bed was over here, and then we sat on the floor in front of it. The box to the Ouija board, you could see, was under the bed. I sat here, and Crystal sat here, and we had the Ouija board in the middle, so the camera was viewing like down the middle. We had a full battery. We had put the spotlight on us to make sure you could see everything. And whenever we would play, we'd always say, you know, is there anybody here that wants to talk? Yada, yada, yada. And I remember it was going in a circle 8. And it was going really pretty fast at this point. And we said, are you a good or a bad, or a good or an evil spirit? And it went to evil. Well, back then, the instructions we had read was, if that happens, then you say goodbye and you take the eye out of the planchette to, I don't know, disconnect, basically. That's like hanging up. So as soon as it went to evil, the camera shut off, and the way we knew that was because the light shut off. So, you know, we both immediately shoved the board under the bed after we, you know, aired it out, did all that. I got up, and you see on the video, I wish I still had the video, but it got destroyed years ago because it was VHS. But anyway, you see on the video, I had pressed record again, and there's me on the floor, and Crystal standing up, sorry. Crystal standing up, and the Ouija board's under the bed. So I, you know, trying to convince her to play again, and I'm like, oh, you know, we've had it do that before where it said evil or whatever. You know, this is no big deal. And she's like, I'm not touching it. And and like I said, we had a full battery when we started. And as soon as I touch the Ouija board under my bed to pull it back out, the camera shut off again. Lights off, battery dead. So that really freaked us out. At that point, Crystal's like, I'm not playing with that thing anymore. And, you know, things like this were starting to happen. I don't remember all the instances, but because there were a lot of them and it was happening in a very short time. Because I remember we only had the video camera for about a month. And this is around all the time that we did this. So at this point, I'm telling my mom, you know, I'm telling you, our house is haunted. This, and this have happened. And I was sitting in our little dining room, and we lived, you know, in an apartment. And my mom's boyfriend, we'll just call him her boyfriend. So her boyfriend was sitting in the living room. Then there was the little kitchen area over here, but there was like a picture window so you could see into the living room. So he's in the living room, my mom's in the kitchen, and I'm in the little dining room area. So we're in like a triangle, if you will. So my mom's shaking her head and going, no, I don't think so, you know. I'll believe it when I see it. And she kept saying that. And I was freaking out, and I'm like, I'm telling you, and I'm listing off all these things that had happened, and she's just not buying it. Oh, I'll believe it when I see it. Well, right about that time, my mom goes, who's burning something? I'm like, what are you talking about? You're in the kitchen. Nobody's burning. She's like, who's burning candles? I smell candles burning. Are you burning candles or incense? And I'm like, no. Well, once again, she doesn't smell it anymore. It now hits me. I smell the candles. And now I'm freaking out a little bit because she doesn't smell them anymore, but I smell them. And then they traveled over to where my mom's boyfriend was on the couch. At this point, I freaked. I got up, I ran into my room, I hid under the blankets, and I'm like, you had to say it, didn't you? When I see it, I'll believe it. Now you're getting what you asked for. Oh my God, I was screaming. I was freaking out. But it was so weird that it was candles. So my mom and I have this theory that it could have possibly been my grandfather, being that he lit the candles all the time. Now, right after that incident, I did throw the Ouija board in the dumpster. I freaked out. That was the last time I've ever used a Ouija board. I will not use one again. And I've been very blessed that nothing has happened since, knock on wood. Like I all of the incidences stopped after that, because as I said, we were only doing it for a short amount of time, so I don't think it had enough time to like grab hold. Now I don't know if it was my grandfather or my grandfather saw that, you know, I was playing with something I shouldn't be maybe, and he came and scared it away, or came to say hello to reassure us, or if it wasn't him at all, I don't know. All I know is that after that, nothing ever happened again, and I've never touched a Ouija board again. Yeah, that really freaked me out. Especially, God, that time when my feet flew. I will never forget that. It felt like somebody through my feet. I mean, they went far up in the air, like 3 feet. Like, I will never forget that. And then to look around and there was nobody there. Oh, all right. Well, that's my story, guys. Again, this happened probably, I want to say 20 years ago. Yeah, it's been a minute, so I don't remember every little detail. I remember the big things, you know. The time with the video camera, that really freaked us out. I mean, it was just impeccable timing. As soon as my fingertips touched that board, it went right back off. I don't know. I mean, all right, that's it for me today, guys. I hope you have a very spooky and happy Halloween. Please be safe and stay away from Ouija boards. I was very lucky in that nothing happened or attached to me that I know of. don't make that mistake. I see so many people playing with them and doing these 3 a.m. challenges and crazy things, and you never know what's liable to attach to you. I was just very lucky that it was only a few things, but pretty much everybody that plays with these things has some sort of experience, and most of the time they're negative. They will, I just remember Aaron being very nice and just kind of kept luring us in, so that we became that obsessed where we were playing it every night, and to the point where I was playing it alone, and it's not good. It's not good. Again, I was very lucky that nothing came back to, stay. But again, I didn't know any better, and I threw it away. So anyway, that's it for me today, folks. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and let me know in the comments below if you've had any scary supernatural experiences. I want to hear your guys' stories. Give me a scary story. And I love you guys, and please be safe out there. Check your candy, check your kids' candy, and don't drink and drive. Love you. Smooches. Bye.